Welcome back to the Two Comma Club podcast. Today I am joined by Heidi Easley, and I'm really excited about this episode. She is a Two Comma Club award winner and business coach, and she's doing some amazing things with paint parties. So Heidi, if you wouldn't mind kind of breaking down what is a paint party?
Well, thanks for having me. Yes, a paint party is basically when you go to either a bar, a restaurant, or even at your house and you paint. You paint with friends or family. Sometimes we drink wine, sometimes we drink tequila, sometimes we drink soda. Like it doesn't matter. But the point is just having fun and making something with your hands.
That's awesome. That sounds like a great time. When did you first start doing paint parties?
Oh my gosh. So I've been doing paint parties for nearly 2 decades. My daughter's 18. That's how I can always remember. It was right around the time she was born, right before that. So yeah, I started teaching paint parties, was a teacher for 10 years, went bankrupt to business owner, lost everything before 30, became a millionaire by 40. And so it was a crazy ride of teaching and then also doing paint parties on the side. And I remember okay, I remember the first time I experienced a paint party. Um, do you remember Groupons, John? Do you remember
Yeah,
when
for
Groupons?
sure.
Okay, so they may still be a thing, but back then, my mother-in-law had bought a Groupon for a paint party and invited me to come. And so I'm sitting there painting, and the owner walks up and is like, "Oh, that you're doing a really good job." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm an art teacher." And she's like, "Oh my gosh, we need more artists to work here." And I was like, "Are you kidding?" And I was making $22,000 as an art teacher in Florida at the time. And she said, "I'll pay you $50 for 2 hours. All you have to do is stand up there and teach, and you'll make $50." I started crying. Like, I was like tearing up, like, oh my gosh, this is going to change. This is insane. This is going to change my life. And then fast forward, her and her husband, they were not artists. And so they were struggling, like getting artists in there consistently. And so they had to shut down the business. Well, she had called me and said, "Heidi, I have this private party at a school. If you want to go and do this party, you'll make like 450 bucks." And I was like, "Oh, that's way more than I make in a day for teaching." And so I took a sick day at work and went and made like $450 in a couple of hours. And I just thought, "Oh man, this is way better." Way better than I was still teaching, but just in a different way. So, and that's kind of how it started. But I can share if you want me to go into more detail about the bankruptcy and how that all shifted everything. I totally don't mind.
Yeah, yeah, please by all means. I think that I read briefly some of your story on your funnel, and I gotta say it's very impressive. And one of the things that I want to touch on real quick is the idea that a lot of people who we have on the podcast go through some level of adversity first, and that's the big thing that ends up being like the pain point that then helps them to get to and through whatever journey they need to go on in order to get to the Two Comma Club awards. So I'm really excited to hear more details on yours.
Yeah, it was crazy. So we basically, I mean, we lost everything. We had a little girl, a little toddler. She's 18 now. But I didn't know like the whole like a lot of people were losing their homes then. I didn't know that. That was back in 2007 timeframe. And I just thought it was me. Like I literally thought, "Oh my gosh, it's only our family." And so I started painting, and you'll know why I'm smiling in a minute because every time I talk about my bankruptcy, I smile, which I know is weird, but you'll know in a minute. But I was using art to heal as I do often, and I was painting these little mini surfboards I had cut out at my sister's house. And so I took them to the school where I was teaching 850 students a week. They would come through my classroom, 850 students. I mean, can you imagine? It's a lot of people. And
Oh
so
yeah.
as they're coming through, I mean, it was a cattle call. And so as they were coming through, I was teaching, and they would see these surfboards that I was working on. And they would go, Miss Easley, put my name on a surfboard." And I'm like, "No, this is just something I'm doing. I'm healing. Like, I'm trying to heal, but I didn't say that. But I was just like, no, no, I'm busy." And they're like, "Well, Miss Easley, please put my name on it." And every time a new class would come in, another kid would spot those surfboards and say the same thing. "Miss Easley, put my name on it. Miss Easley, put my name on it." And I was like, Finally, like 150 kids later said it. I was like, oh, thanks God. Maybe this will help me and my family. And so I, talked to my husband and I called my mother-in-law, who's my best friend. And I said, hey, I was like, I think we could, do something with this. And she's like, yeah, she goes, well, let's, she knew we didn't have any money. We just lost everything. And she's like, let's, go in 50-50. We'll front all the upfront costs. We'll help you get started and then we'll split the profit. And I was like, okay, that sounds great. And so we went to, so in Panama City Beach where we were living, there's this place called Pier Park, and it is beautiful. And so I walked up to this, I got a meeting with the head of Pier Park, and I walked up to him with my wooden polyurethane surfboard that was like still wet. Like it was just rough cut. It was awful. I mean, it was not my best work. And I'm like, can I sell these at your fine mall establishment? And to my surprise, he's like, yeah, I think you could make a lot of money. And I was like, okay. So we rented this 10 by 10 foot square piece of concrete in front of Starbucks and we set up. And I was so excited. Like, my life's going to change. This is greatness. Like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so good. I'm so optimistic. And then nobody is buying my surfboards. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, this isn't okay. And so, I'm sitting there another hour, nobody's buying. And so, my mother-in-law senses my frustration. She looks at me and, what do you do when you've lost everything? You are at your, plan B and it's not working. You go to Buffalo Wild Wings and you have a drink at the bar because that's what you do. And so, and so I'm like, okay. And so my husband watches the booth. We walk over to Buffalo Wild Wings. It was literally across the street. And, I'm a drink in and I am like, this sucks. Like, life is hard. Life is sad. Like, it's hard. Like, what am I supposed to do? I have all of these dreams. Like, for those of you that have kids, like, I don't know how you feel, but I want to give my daughter everything. I want to be able to pay for her college. I don't want her to be in debt like I was for college and it took me decades to pay off. Like, I wanted a better life for her. And I'm like, this sucks. Like, I can't figure this out. Life is hard. And then another drink in. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do? This is plan B. I'm just like in my sorrow. And then all of a sudden, my husband calls and like everything changes. And he's like, Heidi, get over here. We have orders. And I'm like, what? You're lying. No, we don't. And he's like, yes, get over here. We have orders. And so I look at my mother-in-law. My eyes are open. She's like, go, go, go. And so I tipsily walk across the street because I've had a few, and I look at my husband, and I will never forget this moment. He's sitting there at the little booth we had, and he's holding all these paper tickets, and he's like, Heidi, get to painting, get to painting, and I was like flat on my face, done for, count me out, like I felt like, I didn't have a chance. And then in that moment, it felt like God had scooped me up and was like, not only is it going to be okay, but you're going to be able to do what you love forever, which is paint. Like, and I just painted happily and a little tipsy and I was laughing and painting. And we went on in 2 months' time, we sold over 1,000 hand painted surfboards, which meant this girl who painted one painting a year, I was like the slowest painter in history. I was able to paint over 1,000 surfboards in just 2 months, which basically sparked this whole entrepreneurship and just the power of like, oh my gosh, I can do something and make a lot of money in a short amount of time. And it's changed everything.
That's amazing. That is such a cool story. I love that. It's like right at that moment where you feel like all hope is lost, it's just like boom, that's when it happens and everything turns around in the most amazing ways possible. And like you said, you get to do something that you love for the rest of your life with that, which is more than anybody can ask for, falling into that path and purpose, if you will.
For
So tell me,
sure.
how did you guys go from doing the surfboards to hosting painting parties?
Yeah, so we moved a much needed move back to Texas where we were living. Now we're in Nashville, but we just moved here recently. But we were in Texas and North Texas at the time. I wasn't doing an online business. It was like, surfboards really weren't popular to sell in North Dallas. So I ended up, I was teaching again and I was doing paint parties. Somebody actually saw a picture. They came up to me, one of the teachers, and was like, hey, I was thinking of having a paint party with my church group. Do you do that? And I was like, oh, you mean like this? And I had like a picture of a event I had done in Florida. And she's like, yes, exactly like that. And so I started teaching paint parties, and then it just caught fire. Like, I mean, it was like over, I was making more money teaching paint parties than I was doing my teaching job. And so it got so overwhelming, but I was still very, very nervous about quitting my full-time teaching job until like I knew it was going to be okay with our money, because when you have a bankruptcy, like that stuff scars you for a while. It makes you like never want a credit card. Like there's so many things that it really, did to us. And but I'm thankful for it, because everything that happened, like it's just been such a different way of living. Now that we've gone through that, we can see what you can lose, what there is to lose, all of those things. But it also, like you were saying, a lot of times people are about to hit something big right before, like when it's really the worst. And I've seen that so many times in my life. There was one time I remember I was about to, so, I have the membership now, and I have 3,000 members of, that I teach other people how to do paint parties. And people are always like, wait, what? Like, that doesn't even seem, and I'm like, no, like, we, artists and crafters, like I refuse the starving artist mentality. And so I had around 100 and probably 120 members at the time. And this was another one of those times where I was going to totally give it up. And I was at my computer, I'll never forget this, and I am filling out a middle school teaching job. And I hate teaching middle school. Like I've taught all the grades, but middle school is like, I just, just don't, I'll do anything. Like I'll do it, just not that. And so I'm like filling it out as there's tears running down my face. Like I can't do this online business stuff anymore. Like it's too hard. And my husband comes home from work and he's like, step away from the computer. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, it's just too hard. Like, it's not working. I'm teaching paint parties. I'm teaching at the school part-time now. I went to part-time. I'm doing this membership, but it's still not enough. Like, it just felt like it still wasn't enough. And so he's like, you can't quit. He's like, I've seen you come so far. Like, you can't quit. And I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, I don't get it. Like, something is not working. And so we decided to, for the next several months, like 2 or 3 months straight, to track every single penny coming in and out of our lives. And he's very like techie, and I'm very poster board, need a paintbrush. So like I had poster boards all over his office, and he had his fancy spreadsheet. And we literally wrote down, if we spent $3, it was written down. If we paid some, whatever it was. By the time we went through that process, a couple of months, well, we could see it real quick, but within 2 months, we could see that I was bringing in at that time around $7,500 a month. And so if I would have quit and gone to teaching, I would have brought my family's income down to $3,300 a month. So once I saw those numbers plain as day and realized we were just overspending, I thought, okay, game on. Tighten it up and game on. And then it was like, go, go, go. I just launch. And then now I love it so much.
Quick question for you. If you're listening to this show, it probably means that you care about one thing, and that's building funnels that actually convert. Well, here's the truth. The best funnels only work if you have a steady flow of quality leads coming in. And one of the most powerful ways I've discovered to create that flow is through a podcast. That's why I created the Podcast to Profits Challenge. It's a 5-day one-on-one coaching experience with me where we'll design and launch a podcast system that consistently generates high-quality leads for your business and positions you as the go-to authority in your niche. So if you want to create a predictable lead flow, attract dream clients on repeat, and build the kind of authority that fuels your funnels, then check out the Podcast to Profits Challenge. The link is in the description down below. Now, let's get back to the conversation. That's really awesome. I love how, first and foremost, you guys had a lot of success in the business, being able to bring in that many people and serve them to accumulate $7,500 a month in recurring revenue. That's huge. But then secondly, like there's a lot of awesome financial literacy takeaways from that story, where it's like when you get to that point in business where you're feeling like you're up against the wall, it's always good to look at like the whole board, if you will, just not just the business, but also the personal, and see where you can balance the income to expense ratio. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's true too. Like I was giving myself such a hard time about like, oh my gosh, I keep messing this up. Oh my gosh, like, and I want to be a good steward. I want to make sure that I'm paying my people well. Like all of these things that I had like as these feelings. And then I remember one time I was like, wait a minute, like if I've never had money, how can I expect to know how to just magically handle money? Like, if I was always coming from a place of being broke, like, how all of a sudden am I supposed to just be like, okay, I can make it? Like, it took me a lot of years to learn how to make a lot of money. And now it takes years to learn how to manage a lot of money? And so I think, especially if anybody is listening and you're new to making money, I had a lot of guilt around that. Like, I felt like guilty if I was telling somebody I was doing so, like all of these different things. And then one time I talked to somebody and I said, I'm just like this ball of nerves about it. Like, I feel like everything I prayed for is happening, and we're able to, pay for the things we need for my daughter. We're able to help my family when we need to help them, like things like that. But then I couldn't get over this. I couldn't shake this feeling of feeling guilty about like all of this coming to me. And she said, she goes, well, what do you do? She goes, look at it this way. She's like, what do you do when a friend gives you a gift? And I was like, I say thank you. I'm like, oh, thank you for this gift. This snail is such a cute snail. Thank you. I got this gift last night from my daughter's best friend. I was like, thank you for this gift. Like, it's so sweet. So I'm gonna put it on my, desk. It's gonna live here forever. And he's like, well, think about like God giving you this gift, and now you're this way with it. Like, be thankful for it. And so ever since I thought about that, I was like, okay, this is just a tool that I can share and give and create and pay my people well. Like, it just felt so much different. And now it feels like, I don't know, that whole weight's lifted. So I hope that helps somebody, because man, I went through a few years of guilt that I wish I would have heard somebody tell me that story beforehand.
Yeah, I definitely say that's a great golden nugget that you just shared there. It's interesting how much like there's so many different mindsets around money, and like these things that we're not taught about how to feel about it, and it's so interesting. I think you touched on a lot there that's really valuable. So thank you so much for sharing that. Um,
Yeah, no problem.
yeah. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about some of the marketing tactic stuff. So when you started moving into the online space, what were you doing to be able to kind of tell people what you were up to with the paint parties and everything?
So lots and lots of funnels. So my first experience in the online world, so I was, teaching paint parties like crazy. I was 150 miles an hour teaching all of this stuff, right? And then again, my mother-in-law, who she's been such a pivotal part of all of this. Again, she's my best friend. She's helped with a lot of stuff. And one day, just out of the blue, she says, well, what if people stop coming to your paint parties? And I was so offended. I was just like, like, why would they stop coming? Like, how dare you ask that? Like, I don't know why. I mean, I'm sure it was from God for her to ask that, because fast forward a few years and then now we have a pandemic, right? But back then, it was years before that. And so I was just like, oh my gosh, like, that's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy talk. And I think it was in 2016 when she asked that. Well, I started going, how like people say something and then it just replays in your head over and over. So I started asking this question. I was like, well, if that's the case in my head, I'm like, so how do millionaires become millionaires? Like, how do people make a lot of money? And so I was just on this search. I was like, YouTubing and Googling and trying to find like, okay, how do people make a lot of money? And so I stumbled upon building an online business. And my first business coach was Shanda Sumner, and she taught me how to build an email list through a summit, through interviews like this. And so I spent the next like several months learning how to not only approach people to interview, but also interviewing people, and how to build an email list and collaborate and have them email on my behalf and things like that. So what happened was is that I had a blast. I learned a ton. I built an email list of over 5,000 people, but they were all fine artists. Like all of these, this whole email list was a fine artist email list, which is a great group, but it's the wrong crowd for what my audience is. And my audience are artists and crafters, but more on the crafter side. And so I spent all this time and I was so excited. I got to interview people like Margaret Keane, the Big Eyes painter. I got to interview Akiana Krameric, who's the Jesus painter. I got to interview her twice. Like, I mean, I was in heaven. I was like, this is so crazy. Like, I can't even believe I'm talking to these. So even though it was the wrong audience, I still learned a ton. I had a blast. And so when I started trying to sell different things, it wasn't hitting. Like nobody was buying. And then Patty Palmer actually, I'd interviewed her, and she said, "Hey, why don't you write a book about your paint party business, like a how-to?" And I was like, "Huh, you think people would want that?" Like literally, like wasn't even on the radar. And she's like, "Yes, I think people would want that." So I stayed up all night long writing this book because when you do something and you know it, like it just and man. If I would have had Chat GPT then, like it would have been so much faster. But, like I stayed up all night and I wrote it and then I immediately, because I'm a very quick action taker, I think that's a big, big lesson here. Like take action while you're inspired, because if not, the fear is going to take over and then things get busy and you'll never do it. So I stayed up all night. I sent her the copy and she's like, I think she was kind of like, "Why are you sending this to me?" Like, but she's like, she was sweet. She's like, "Well, I don't really have time to look through it, but I think you need to flesh this out." And so I was like, "Nope, noted." And so within 2 days, I had it all fleshed out. I didn't send it back. I was just like, okay. And then I started selling it on my email list. And I remember it was the coolest thing because every time I hit refresh, there was more money. Hit refresh, more money. And I was just like, oh my gosh. Like it felt like I was gambling. It felt like I was at a casino because I would just pull down my phone and then I would, more money, more money. Like it was just the coolest thing. It was the funnest thing ever. And so that's been, I don't know, I mean, I do come from a family of gamblers. So I do think like there's a part of that like that's innate in me, but it's more like, yes, the money is amazing and yes, the money is great. And it's so, oh my gosh, my mom always says if somebody says like money doesn't matter, like ask somebody who's poor. Like it matters, right? Like it helps. And so I remember just being like, oh my gosh, this is so great. But now that like I've figured out how to make money, it's like, oh, now it's like about the game of it. Like it's so much fun. Like, okay, what if you pull this lever? What happens? Like, and I think that's why I love like Russell and Stu. Like, they're always looking at, okay, well, it's just a matter of making it work. Like you want something to happen, build yourself a swimming pool, like write a song and build a swimming pool, all of that fun stuff. So I love all of that. I don't know if I answered that question because I think I went off on a tangent. I'm sorry.
It was great. I loved it. That was awesome. I think you dropped a lot of gold nuggets there. One thing that you said at the end there, I'd just like to reiterate is if you read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, this is a lesson that they share in there, and it's like the difference between the wealthy and everyone else is just one mindset shift. And the wealthy ask the question like, "How do you like do something?" And then everyone else says like, "I can't," right? And it's like, and,
Right.
and I think you touched on that there, talking about how like tweaking all the different things in the business and how can you make something happen when you pull a different lever. And I think that's really cool. So
Yeah.
if I understand your journey correctly, it sounds like you started by getting in the online space and selling a book to your email list. To get people on the email list, were you using paid ads or were you creating like organic traffic through social media or what were you doing in that respect?
So at that time, I was just doing the summit. So I contacted like 21 speakers and then they would email on my behalf. And then that way they would sign up for the summit. I would get their email address. But since then, we've, obviously in this game, you always have to be changing. And I mean, as soon as you figure out the rules, they change the rules. Like everything is constantly changing. And so now what we do is challenges. And so we'll do, like, for example, because I teach paint parties and I teach people how to make money teaching paint parties. I'll do, for example, it's called like a fall ball, or we'll do the Christmas one. It's a great one, the Snowman Showdown. Okay, I call it Snowman Showdown. And then everybody comes together and we do a big 3-day event where I teach them how to paint a snowman. And then I challenge them to teach a paint party for free around their kitchen table, with a couple of people. It could be their family, it could be a neighbor, it could be a friend, it could be a weird cousin, like whatever. And then they just teach them. And then after they teach them, they take some pictures, and then we call that their guinea pig party. So what's kind of cool about that is they not only are having immediate action because they're painting the painting with me, and it's, they're fun, they're having fun, they're posting their pictures, but then they're also posting pictures of them teaching their paint party. So here's where I went wrong several years in, is like I kept thinking, so I know a lot of times people say like really, really niche down your market. And I kept thinking, well, there's so many people that might want to do this one day, And so I just really wanted to capture like all artists and crafters, all of them, right? And so I would just make sure, like if I'm painting on YouTube or Facebook or whatever, or Instagram, I would make sure I'm just painting. And then I realized when we would do our challenges that we got everybody, and they would be like, well, tell me about the brushes. I don't want to know about the business. And I was like, oh my gosh, like we're working way too hard. And so I started, every time I went live, every time I talked on social media, I could literally be painting a palm tree, but I'm painting a palm tree while I'm telling you how to use this palm tree to make money for a paint party business. So once we did that full switch, we noticed in our challenges, let's say we have 1,000 people come through our challenges, and we know that we convert at 20 to 25% for our membership. So, but here's the cool part is, like, once we had them do the challenge, everybody was asking the right questions. They're asking, what do I buy for the paint party? What do I do for supplies? Like all of the questions that is what I asked at the beginning of doing this, and wish there would have been somebody who was providing all of this for them, just like I provide for them, is the exact things that we want. So we've realized that, okay, it's all about messaging, and what we're putting out there is, okay, they're either going to want to learn more from me or not, but they're not going to know where I stand. So I think that was a big, big lesson. So yeah, we're challenges, we're doing Facebook ads, we're doing YouTube ads. I actually grew my YouTube recently from, this is brand new. We went from 26,000 subscribers to almost 400,000 now, just in like 3
Wow.
months. So that's been a huge thing that we just we're learning right now. So it's been crazy.
That's really impressive. I was just listening to another podcast. I think it was yesterday, and one of the speakers was Myron Golden on there talking about his YouTube journey and everything. And hearing those numbers is just—it's so wild to think about how quickly it can compound on itself. In the beginning it's a little slower, but then as you go, it like starts taking off really fast. So,
Yeah.
what are you doing? I guess probably in YouTube, since you're focusing more on that now, to kind of like build and nurture those relationships before they come into your ecosystem as paying customers.
The great thing about YouTube is I have been, and like, if anybody's not got a YouTube channel, I do think that everybody should get one. It's kind of like a podcast, but I just don't want to do a podcast. It's like, it's one thing. So you got to figure out which one you're going to do. I know a lot of people are doing podcasts into YouTube, they're kind of mixing it. Um, but here's the thing that I would just say is, like, we didn't realize what we were doing at all. Like most of us, right? We don't know what we're doing. And so I was basically doing Facebook Lives, because Facebook, several years ago, especially, like, you go live and you would get tons of numbers and people are watching and they would want to watch live. Where now all of our attention spans have kind of like dwindled into 3 seconds. So now we're all doing smaller, but we still need the long form content. So what we did was, I would do a Facebook Live, and then we would download it and upload it to YouTube. And so at first I was like, oh, I'm not even gonna worry. I just want content over there. Like I didn't really know why. I just felt like I needed content over there. And so so even all of the, hi Sally, hi Rebecca, like all of that's in there. Like, how you talk to everybody when you're on them. And so I just left it. People would say, you need to take all of that out. You need to edit it. And I was like, I don't have time for that. Like we're moving forward. Like that's what it is. That's what it is. So honestly, until about 3 months ago, everything on my YouTube channel, and I think we have, I don't know how many videos we have over there, but everything on there was like just basically from Facebook that we threw over there, or a webinar that we threw over there. And now we're purposely making content for YouTube to actually try to grow it. So I am so excited to see, like, we've already seen some of the benefits because what, as you do, and as I'm sure everybody else does too, once you find a channel you like, you basically binge watch all of it, just like we do a series on Netflix. And so I think what's been really cool is I heard some stat, and I could be wrong. Please, if correct me if I'm wrong, or if somebody hears this and it's wrong, please correct me. But I heard some stat that my friend said that somebody has to listen to you for about 7 hours before they know and trust you.
Yep.
And so, oh, good. So you've heard us right. And
Yeah, yeah.
so I was like, oh, well, that's great because I have like thousands and thousands of hours of content over there. And so I think that's been what's really cool is because when they find me on YouTube, they've binged just a bunch of stuff and I am who I am. Like this is who you get. And so they know me. So like when they come in and now we're at a new member meeting and we're face to face, like they feel like they know me because I've shared, like they know my dog's name, they know my daughter's name, they know my husband's name, like all of that stuff has happened. So I think it's just a matter of like just being myself in the videos and then they've binged them.
That's really cool. I think you're building a really good not only asset in that respect, but like a strong community by being you and authentic up front with everyone and giving them the opportunity to I guess like bond with you in that respect, if you will. Um, so what have been some of the most unique experiences that you've had along this journey as it's pertained to serving the clients that you have?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we have the best people. So we're all artists and crafters, so we are creative and we're a little bit different. That's who we are. And so we do this thing called the Painted Prom, and it's part of our Paint Party Business Live. So anybody that's in Paint Party headquarters, which is my monthly membership, they get invited to what's called Paint Party Business Live. And it's a 2.5 day event where I teach you in person marketing. I teach you, social media, all of these fun things. And then, we'll paint together, all of this stuff. Well, one of my team members had this idea because we had done this like dress up. We went to Dollywood one year and we've done stockyards. And then just a couple months ago, we did a giant cruise with like 300 of us. And what we do is, we do like dress up nights. Well, one of my team members said, hey, what if we do the painted prom? So I was like, oh my gosh, like, yes, yes. Like, I'm one of those people, like, bring ideas. Like, we like crazy stuff. And so we've done so many crazy things. So a couple of years ago, we threw a giant circus. We had stilt walkers, we had trapeze. I got to ride a horse in a prom dress. Like, it was epic. We all had top hats on and painted dresses, and it was all circus themed. And then just a couple months ago, we went to the Bahamas as a giant group, and we all did mermaids and pirates. So like spouses were dressed up as pirates. And I mean, we basically took over that ship. Like it was so crazy. The entire like foyer of that Royal Caribbean ship, they have this giant like foyer. I don't know if you've ever been on some of those ships. We went on Utopia, which is like the second largest ship in the world. And so we're in the middle of this, and there's hundreds of us in pirate and mermaid outfits. Like, and they're painted, and our faces are painted. I mean, like kids were coming up, and like some of our members had gifts. They were like giving gifts to these kids, and Bobby had like a bunch of like fake gold jewelry, like he was giving away. Like it was so fun. And what's been really cool is like a lot of my family will come and be a part of these too. So like I'm getting to do business with my family as well. So it's just been amazing. And then another really cool piece that I've loved is my daughter. who's 18, Pixie, I've had her every year speak at these events. So we just did our fifth one. And so my members have seen her grow up. Like they've watched her totally grow up, but they've also seen me allow her to be, I mean, she's helped with the business since she was 5. And I always knew, I was like, I want to encourage a strong work ethic. You know, she needs to know she can always make money. And so she, you know, every single event I've had her speak at it, or, you know, she'll do something for it. And so this last one was her first time being the host by herself. Oh my gosh, she rocked it. And I was just so proud. Like, I was just like, oh, like, you know, most people go to college with public speaking being their worst course. And here's my daughter in front of hundreds of people, like, not only speaking, but literally like rocking it. So that's really one of the cool, unique things about us is it's not just business. Like, it's a lot. Like, we have families involved. We have families that come to the events. They used to be just for the members or open to the public. I'm like, no, like your spouses need to come. Like bring your kids. Like this is an event we can celebrate. And plus, once everybody understands what you're trying to do, it's so much easier than the family unit separated. And the husband's like, well, what are you doing over there? Like you're going to this and that and whatever. Once they come along and then, oh my gosh, like seeing these husbands dress up and have fun, like that was hilarious and so much fun. Like they want to be a part of it too. So it was really, really exciting.
Man, I gotta tell you, I think this is probably the most unique response that I've gotten to that question in the whole time I've done this podcast so far. And honestly, like compared to every other person, you sound like you have the most fun business. Like genuinely, like it just sounds fun. It's like everybody gets to come and just have a great time and like do these awesome, cool, unique experiences, and it's awesome. So that's really cool. Um, I'm also that sounds like a really cool proud mom moment with your daughter there, and that's really cool. And I highly encourage others who are listening, if you have kids, to also get involved in businesses and things of that nature, just to, you know, if nothing else, get the exposure to it and the experience and everything. And that's really awesome. Um, so you have quite the value ladder that I'm hearing so far, and I'd love to know if there's any additional items outside of what we've already discussed, from the book to the challenges to the monthly membership to the live events, and if there's anything else.
Yeah, so we do, I basically have, so like my main offer is Paint Party Headquarters. So that's like my monthly $57 a month. We have around 3,000 members now. Our goal is to hit 5,000. So I keep saying that because it will happen, especially with our YouTube strategy. And we always have so many different funnels that we're testing. And so that's the main thing. But we just recently started doing a smaller offer, like a $35 offer. I don't know if you've noticed this, John, but we've noticed recently that like we can throw a ton of freebie type stuff out there and we get a ton of emails, but they're not really converting. And so now we switch to like we're changing all of our free stuff to paid. And so one of our paid is $35 and it's like this mini course and it's like I'm giving like so much into this mini course. And so what we're noticing is a lot of people are converting to members from that. So we have like the mini course for $35, and then that helps convert people to members on the back end because we do launches 1 to 2 times a year, but we have Evergreen going every single day on the back end. And then we have what's called 100K Creative. So basically, a lot of the people inside Paint Party headquarters want to know what I'm doing to do this. Like, you know, they learned that business and then they're like, wait a minute, Heidi, it sounds like you might know more stuff. So maybe teach me that. And so we started teaching a course. And so that course I try to do every 2 years. I was doing it every year, but it gets, you know, kind of confusing. So this will be our year to launch it again. And I just recently started a new Instagram so I could kind of split them because we noticed that the person I'm talking to about teaching paint parties is a totally different person that I'm talking to about selling your art kits, your stuff like that, you know, your paintings, things like that online. So I really wanted to try to separate that so I didn't dilute this audience because we spent so much time for that. So we have a course that we offer, and that's once every 2 years. We do the live event once every 2 years, so those alternate. Again, that's by design because, like you said, our business sounds fun. It is fun because we make it that way. We strategically make it that way. We have a lot of people on our team that, their priority. I mean, we all have different priorities in life, and I want to make sure that like we work hard, and I expect hard work, but we also play hard. And so that was a mistake I made early on, is that I ignored a lot of, events, family events, things like that that I regret. And now it's like, no, like the things that are important to me go into my calendar first. Of course, if it's busy season, my family knows, fourth quarter's game on, we just work, work, and then we go have fun. And so I think it's important to know, like, there's those times when you got to kick butt and go for it. And then there's times when you can back away. But yeah, so we have that. And then we have the course, we have the membership, we have the little mini offers going into those to build our list as well as our challenges. And then many times we've done little bursts. I'm going to say little bursts of like stuff that we would ship. And so this year, I'm going to try to be like, we have this kind of a welcome packet that goes to our Paint Party headquarters members. But during our challenges, we usually ship something when they do the challenge, and that's like an upsell. And so that upsell usually funds our ad spend to where we can go, to maybe $100,000 for ad spend or whatever that amount is in those 3 weeks. But this year, I'm going to try to not do that. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to knock on wood, all of the different things. Like, I'm going to try to create the greatest upsell that does not require shipping, because I don't like shipping and I don't like my team to have to ship. It's a lot. So that's kind of one of the things I'm trying to tailor back on to keep it more all virtual. But that's it. Like, we keep it very simple. I have a book that I wrote that's on Amazon. I have two books actually that are on Amazon. But the book, I mean, I try to give it away for free as much as possible. I literally have it read to them on YouTube for free, so you can listen to it. It's 3.5 hours long, for free. I really just want to help people, because I know if I help them and they trust me, that they're gonna want to join Paint Party headquarters. So really, we try to keep it simple.
That's awesome. Yeah, it sounds like you guys have it structured in the right way for people to be able to come in, see what you're all about, and then be able to go through the whole experience in a way that's, really manageable for them. And then it sounds like it's structured in a perfect way where it helps them to kind of like take things one step at a time and actually get those wins that they need to get in order to be successful before moving on to that next step. So that's really great.
Yes. And that wasn't always the case. Like, I was such a train wreck, like with so many different, because we have some, especially when you're used to like build. I mean, we all start this as a one person show. And so I was so used to building my funnels, writing all my own emails, creating my Facebook ads, like doing everything. And so a lot of times, like when I first started teaching that course, it was like, I'm already skipping 16 steps that I learned way back when. And so even with we're going to be launching our course in December. And even with that course, like I'll do, okay, step one. And then I'm like, wait, no, no, nope, scratch that out. They need to start here. Nope, nope, scratch that out. They need to start here. Like I challenge myself to go, no, like what if I was teaching it to my daughter? Step one out of the gate. Where does she need to go? And so that's really been like, I think that's the struggle, because like people can go to Chat GPT and ask, and they're going to tell you, but you need someone that's been there, done that, and basically holding your hand saying, no, that's right. You're doing it right. That's okay. Move forward. Okay, you're not ready to move forward yet. Stop. Chat GPT is not at this time going to tell you, okay, stop, don't move forward. Like, they're just going to keep giving you information and keep giving you information. By the way, I love you, Chat GPT. If you're listening to me, we're friends. Whatever that looks like. We don't know what's going to happen. So we are friends. I always say thank you. But you know what I mean? Like, we still
Yeah.
need to make sure that we're implementing. We can get all the knowledge in the world, but if you're not taking action with it, it does not matter. It's not going to change your life.
Yeah, I think that action piece is like the number one differentiator of everyone that I hear that has these big dreams and goals and everything. And like it doesn't matter where you're at in the learning curve or anything like that. Like if you take action, you're going to get in this habit of going down the path of success, which just happens to be paved with failure. And so like you'll take action, fail, take action, fail, take action, succeed, and then that cycle continues, as you know. So
Yeah, have you noticed that too, like with your business or your podcast, like how it does that?
yeah, it's really interesting. It's like this constant cycle of exactly that, right? The one thing that I always tell people is we talk about what it looks like to be an entrepreneur, and maybe you will agree with this or not. I'd love to hear your take on it. But I say that there's like 20 skills that every entrepreneur needs to have. And what's interesting is between skills 1 and 10, as they're acquiring them, they don't make any money. But when they get skill number 11, they make their first dollar. And then they get skill number 12 and they make 10. And then with 13 is 100 and then 1,000 and then 10,000, 100,000 and so on and so forth. And it's like what ends up happening that I see a lot of times with coaches and things is that they're focused on helping people get, you know, 1 or 2 skills in that 0 to 10 range. And so they're not really able to get people results because they have so many different pieces and parts that go into play with it that the people who focus on the individuals who are on the higher level, they help them develop that one skill, and it can literally result in hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in growth for them, which is fascinating to think about. But we all
Yeah.
start where we start from, you know, and so we got to learn those along the way. So
Yeah, that's interesting. And I think too, like the mindset piece, I think you spoke about that earlier. It's I'll see people in my group that are like, I've been at the, I just don't know what's going on. And it's been 3 weeks. And I'm like, oh my gosh, if you're giving up after 3 weeks, like this ain't for you. This is not the right game. Like this ain't for you. And so I think it does take a person, you know, like Russell says, like the 1% crazy, a little bit, you know, overly optimistic to think that we could actually do something and then do it, you know, but there, I mean, everybody has that ability if, you know, if they're wanting it. And if, and I think, you know, too, like it does take a little bit of luck. It takes a lot of hard work and a lot of discipline and a lot of consistency, but it's definitely worth it. It's just, you don't see that result until after those skills acquire. That's so interesting. I like that.
thank you. Um, and yeah, I totally agree with everything you just said. So in your entrepreneurial journey, what would you say has been kind of like your one unique superpower or unique ability that has helped you to hit the level of success that you've had to the current day?
I don't know if it's a unique ability, but I truly care for my members. So one of my biggest things is like a lot of times people go into business so they can be the boss or they can work for themselves. I wake up every day and I'm like, I got 3,000 bosses. Like I am going to work for them. How can I make them money faster? How can I make something easier? So my brain doesn't stop. So I'm always like, okay, this is holding them up. What can we do? Like, how can we fix this? Okay, they want this. Like, how can I make it happen? And last year we had a group call and we were talking, we do these like peer-to-peer calls every month and I lead them. And sometimes it's talking about confidence. Sometimes it's talking about, you know, how to get more prepays for your paint parties. Like we always have a different topic because I don't want to keep it stale. And so we were talking and somebody was showing some of their paintings and it was, you know, around November or maybe September, I don't remember. But somebody was asking about a nutcracker for Christmas. And so one of our members said, oh, I have one. And they showed it on the camera. Well, of course, everybody in the group is like, oh my gosh, we share that painting. Oh my gosh, I love this painting. You know, her name, I don't want to say her name, but her name, you know, she was just like, you know, you could tell immediately she was kind of like, well, this is my painting. Like, I don't want to share it, you know? And so I noticed immediately her tone and actually, I was like, don't worry about it. I said, let me see what I can come up with. I was like, that's her design, you know, because some of our members share, which I was not expecting. Like a lot of our members literally will create designs and we have a hashtag share. And so we know that design's open for anybody to use, which again was not expected when I started this group. And so I was like, okay, I said, don't worry about it. And so that day I had some extra time. It was crazy, but I was like, okay, I'm going to try to paint a nutcracker, which I didn't really see the draw of them until I painted them. And then I was like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. So I painted a nutcracker. I got so excited. I painted the guy and the girl version. And I was so excited about this. So like I took the pictures, I posted them. I was like, hey y'all, I painted you a nutcracker. You can go for it. We're getting the tracers, the step by step. Everything is coming. But I just want you to know they are painted and you can use them to start advertising and start getting prepays because they're allowed to take my photos and immediately start getting prepays for their party. So it cuts like all of the headache out of waiting and then painting it and then hoping somebody will like it, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, so I had a message from somebody and one of my members was like, Heidi, I just want to say thank you. Like you don't only just listen to us, but you actually listen to what we need and then you take action and create it and do it or, find a way. And I was like, yeah, it's because I mean, if you're successful, I'm successful. Like if I stop making you successful, I'm not going to be successful. And it's not out of selfishness. I really do feel like I'm responsible for these people. Like I'm a huge Dave Ramsey fan, and I'm like, I feel like I'm like the Dave Ramsey of paint parties in a way. Like I want you to make a profit every party. Like you don't have to go get $100,000 franchise to make a profit doing this business. And so it just, and then if I see something in the group where somebody's like, oh my gosh, I've spent all this, I'm like, that is not how I teach you. I literally teach you to grab the random paintbrushes in your house. Like we're crafters, we're artists. You have a few paintbrushes, like, and that's what I really want people to hear is, don't, yes, take a risk, but take a risk responsibly. Again, that comes from my background of losing it all. Like you play these games, but they are risky and there are consequences, good and bad. So I'm really, really adamant about like do it, like go slow. It's okay to go slow, but you have to take your risk. Like think about how you want to take your risk and then do a profit every party. So I feel like I really care. And I think it's because I was that person, am that person. I'm still on, I still teach paint parties today. I just moved to Nashville area and I've told my group, I'm like, you're going to see me starting over, like a new studio, starting over with friends, like in my mid 40s. Everything is new, a new church, new friend group, new everything, new paint party people, like everything is new. And so I want them to see me, how I fail, how I succeed, like, and so I want them to know that they're not alone in it. And it's scary to go reach out to people. It's scary to start something new, but you can do it. Like the other day, I was on my way to this new gym and I did not join a gym in Texas. Like I was like, oh no, I'm out. And I don't like working out, but I was like, okay, I need to be better. And this is a way I can meet people. I drove there and then I didn't go in. Like I went to another place and then I had like was supposed to be at this 10:30 class. I freaked out. I didn't go. So I went to the other one on the other side of town and was like, hey, I was just interested in your classes. What's going on? So this morning I actually showed up for the class and during the class it felt like oh my gosh, these people are so much better than me. They're all fit. They know what they're doing. I can't even touch my toes. I'm cramping. I got a foot cramp during the middle of it. Like I was a mess. And then at the end of it, I looked over at one of the girls and she's like, you did good. And I was like, it was my first time. And then immediately her face was like, oh my gosh, I remember the first time I took this class. Like it's so hard. And then a couple other girls rallied around me. Oh my gosh, you just got to stick to it. Like you're going to be fine. And if you relate that to business, it's the same way. Related to business. Like I can't expect to go in there and touch my toes and, do all the planks. Like I cannot expect that day one. But for some reason, we think we can magically be entrepreneurs or magically be business owners overnight. And it's the same way as working out. Like you have to be disciplined. You have to keep doing it. You got to get back up over and over and over again. And it can be exhausting and it will be exhausting, but it's worth it.
Yeah, I totally agree with all of that. And I think you touched on something there that's really important with the story of the working out. It's like all those individuals that you're surrounded with there, they were encouraging you to basically like keep going, like you'll get through this part and everything. And like I think a lot of what I've noticed trend wise as I've done this interview is the individuals who surround themselves with like-minded people tend to be the ones who succeed most of the time because your environment plays a huge role in that. So, what have you kind of done to curate your environment in order to lead you into this realm of success that you're currently in?
Oh my gosh, I got so lucky. So when I first took the membership experience with Stu McLaren, back in 2018, I guess, it's been a while. So I remember I signed up for the program, and he's teaching you how to like take what you know and turn it into a membership. And so I had binged all of his podcasts, and I was like, oh my gosh, I could do this. Because at that time I had like 80 people I was helping in a Facebook group, but my mistake was is I charged them for a boot camp price. So like let's say it was 97. I don't remember because it was almost 10 years ago, but let's say it was $97. And so I charged them for this boot camp price, and I put them in a Facebook group. Well, then they were in there forever. I'm still answering questions. By this point, I am making no money. And so I listened to all of Stu's stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I got on a live with the group, and I was like, do I die? Do you die? Like, how does this relationship end? Like, by now I'm in the negative. I'm making no money. Like, I mean, you want to help. You want to help. You know the answers. Be nice, like, blah, blah, blah. And then I was just like, I can't keep helping for free. I mean, this is a great gig for you, but like, I got a family, I got bills to pay, all of that. So anyway, after listening to him, I basically did a beta launch. And so in that time when I was first learning from Stu, one of the ladies in there, she's my Facebook ads person, she saw a bunch of us that were artists. And at the time, she was running an art studio too. And she kind of pulled together this little pod. So there were probably about 30 of us that were all artists. And we were in this kind of private Facebook group, able to, get away from the crowd noise and just talk about art memberships. Well, during that time, over the 30, it kind of whittled down to about 8 people. And now every single year we go on a mastermind trip together, at least, once a year, sometimes twice a year. And one of them was at my house a couple days ago, staying the night. Like, we're just always hanging out together. We have a constant group chat where we're always talking about mostly now our family. And, now we're talking, we've always talked about our family and our, crazy things happening. But in the first part of our relationships, it was all business. Oh, what this, that. Now we're like, okay, what do you think about this? Okay, is this stupid? Like, should I cut all my hair off? Like, we're just, going back and forth about stupid stuff most of the time. And that's the clean versions. Most of it's, some of it's inappropriate. It's just the stupid talk between friends. And so it's really been fun because you have 7 people that are literally doing online businesses. And what's been really cool is all of us were from no membership to building our memberships. And so it's been really cool, especially like as we first met, like, not really having money to do anything. And now we're like, oh, let's get together and we'll stay here. And we're just all like, I can't believe this is happening. It's just really cool because you can celebrate with them where a lot of your family and friends, they don't get it. They don't understand it. And they also like, they don't, I mean, it's still like, I think about my grandma. My grandma just passed away this last week.
My
And
condolences.
oh, thank you. I mean, she was ready. She was ready to go. Like my mom, all 3 of her kids were already in heaven. So she was definitely ready to go. But I think about, almost 100 years old and how from when her life started, she didn't even have the option to make money through a keyboard. Like that was not the way you do things. Like internet wasn't available. And so I think about like everything that she's done, like through her life, how she saw it from an outhouse all the way to, AI. Like my grandma was around for all of that. And I think about how we get the opportunity. Like my mom even, didn't really have the opportunity, and then she passed, but the opportunity to make money this way. So how would anybody understand? We don't understand it. We're looking at our accounts like that is insane. Like that, how can that happen? And just one little quick story like to kind of backtrack. I remember going through an ATM and the guy left his receipt who was in front of me. And I was like a little bit nosy. So I grabbed the receipt because of course, like it was going to fall out anyway. I was about to get my receipt. So I grabbed the receipt and I just took a quick peek and he had like over $10,000 in one of his accounts. And I was just like, oh, I kept that receipt in my purse and was like, one day I'm going to have over 10,000 cash in my account. Like, I just need to come get $40 out. Like, it's just like, it just was not a world that I lived in. It wasn't a world I knew. And so now that I'm around people that have several 100,000 in their bank account, I'm like, "Oh, that can be normal." Okay, that's the bar now. Okay, I'm not trying to get 10,000. Like I want several 100,000 of liquid. Like it's just when you are around people, and I can't wait to be at a level where it's like, you know, I always want to respect money and be able to openly talk about money because I think it's important. I think it's important that my daughter knows that you can make it, you can lose it, you can spend it, you can give it. Like, I want her to know all of those things about it. I don't want it to be this hush topic where you don't know how to use it, you don't know what you're supposed to do with it. But I also want to get to a point in my life where it's like, okay, it's being made. Like, it's all being made, it's not something that we got to constantly bring attention to. It's, I don't know, it's just kind of cool to see the progression of how people go throughout the so many stories around money, right? Like we all have these different, you could say this is expensive to one, this snail is expensive to one person, but to somebody else it's a piece of trash, right? Like we all have a different relationship with money. It's so weird, so fascinating too.
Isn't it? And it's crazy how, at least for me, this is kind of what sparked the whole idea of the podcast and my entrepreneurial journey is like, it's wild how that topic is not really covered in school, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, it's for, from my perspective, it's like the number one tool that you're going to use in life and nobody talks about it in school. Like that is the most backwards thing that I can ever think of, you know? It's crazy. So
Yeah,
that's
and the amount of like mental health and divorce and that is related to money and people who feel like they don't have a way out, like it's really I feel like it's really serious and people need to spend more time learning how to make money, learn how to keep money, all of those things. It's important.
Yeah, definitely. I think so I mentioned that podcast I listened to yesterday and I'm gonna coin this. I think it was Myron himself who said it in the podcast that I was listening to, but he talked about the idea of exposure therapy. And I think that a lot of the younger generation today is seeing the idea that kind of jobs are starting to become obsolete. Like our parents growing up, they were able to get a job and that would allow them the opportunity to like get a house and all that other stuff. But for us these days, especially with student loans and everything, it's like that's just not a thing. It doesn't allow you to save enough to be able to do the crazy $60,000 down payment and all that other stuff, you know? And so this exposure therapy idea, I think, is really cool because it's like a lot of these younger generation individuals are using the internet to get exposed to that kind of level of thinking and that mindset and develop it online through a lot of these different avenues, which I think is really cool. And I think we're going to see, or at least starting to see, social media take on a new form, where it's like people are actually realizing, like, when they see videos, there's a person behind it. Like, when they're watching your YouTube, for example, they're definitely seeing that, right? Like, they're seeing your real personality, you're showing up and doing all those great things. And now they can relate to you. And now they're like, okay, like, she's my person. Like, I need to follow what she's teaching and all that, which I think is really cool. So,
Tell
yeah.
me more about the exposure therapy. What do you mean? Like they see people buying houses, or like what do you mean?
Yeah, so I would say it's exposure to like different thoughts, right, or mindsets, right? So as you mentioned, all your friends and everyone that you grew with these communities and everything, what's unique about it is you went from a place where you talked about that receipt of seeing $10,000 in a bank account, and that exposed you to that, and you're like, one day this is going to happen because you were exposed to it. But then now it's like the hundreds of thousands, right? And as more people continue to talk openly about money, there's going to be a day where like millions of dollars in the bank is something that people are exposed to on such a regular basis that it kind of becomes more of that norm, if you will. And so,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
cool. Yeah, I'll have to listen to it. Was it Myron Golden
hmm
podcast?
I
Okay,
think it
yeah,
was him
I
on
love
Omar. I'm gonna butcher his last name. I think it's El Takari, or
it.
yeah, I
Okay,
think that's how you say it.
okay, I'll
But
listen to that. I love
definitely.
listening to him. He's so good.
Oh yeah. But with that said, I really do appreciate your time today. I think you've dropped a ton of value for anybody who's listening and wants to get involved in any of your paint parties or anything you have going on. Where can they go to get a hold of you?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for having me, by the way. So, if you want to know about how to make money teaching paint parties, go to Texas Art and Soul. You can go to my website, or you can go to Instagram, Texas Art and Soul _, or of course YouTube. I have over 1,000 videos on there. And then if you want to know more about how to make 6 to 7 figures with your online art business, then go to 100K Creative. That's on Instagram. So 100K Creative for that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This has been by far one of my favorite podcasts that I've done to date. And it sounds like you guys are having an absolute blast in your business. And I wish you the best. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, if you're not having fun, you shouldn't be doing it.
Amen. All right. Take care.
Thanks.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the 2 Comma Club podcast. Real quick before you go, if you want to save time on watching all the episodes but still get all the gold nuggets that we find from interviewing these 7, 8, and 9 figure entrepreneurs, then you can get all of that inside of the 2 Comma Club newsletter. Just go to 2ccnewsletter.com and subscribe.